Hi, I'm the Reverend Dr. Leah Fowler, and I am a graduate of the Agnes Scott College class of 1998. And I am participating in this teach-in today because I want my alma mater to support a living wage. The reason I care so much about this is because as a child, I was raised by my mom, who, as a single working parent, did not always make enough to make ends meet. And sometimes we had to make choices about buying food or paying bills. And we were even evicted from our apartment several times. And I wouldn't want anybody working for my college to have to make choices between feeding their kids and paying rent and paying heating bills and a $15 an hour minimum wage would help to not force parents to make those sorts of difficult decisions. And this is something that I hope that the college will deeply consider and work toward affirming. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Tina Pippin, Wallace M. Austin, Professor of Bible and Religion at Agnes Scott College. I've been a member of the Agnes Scott College Living Wage campaign since the 1990s. I support economic justice at Agnes Scott for many reasons. First of all, I have colleagues here who cook, clean, fix, and mow for poverty wages. As a college committed to human rights, we can do better to uphold the basic human rights of just wages. Article 23 of the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights states, "Everyone who works has the right to just and favorable remuneration, ensuring for themselves and their family an existence worthy of human dignity." Along with just wages, our campaign stands for institutional respect and democratic workplace. The legacy of slavery and new Jim Crow, along lines of race and class, continue to weigh us down as an institution. I am part of a movement to dismantle this macrostructure of oppression so that we can live into the vision of the college. Agnes Scott College educates women to think deeply, live honorably, and engage the intellectual and social challenges of their times. It's way past time for us to become a just community. Please join me in supporting economic justice at Agnes Scott College. Thanks.
I'm Dr. Colleen Wessel McCoy, and I'm a proud graduate of Agnes Scott class of 2001. And I'm so grateful for my academic formation and leadership development at Agnes Scott. I would not be the person I am today without the community of fellow students, administrators, faculty, and staff who nurtured me as my life and my commitments took shape. Agnes Scott raises generations of leaders for all spheres of society. But that formation falls short if it models for us that it's okay for workers who give their time and talents to make sure that we have good food to eat and clean spaces to work, themselves have to choose between paying rent and buying groceries, or between gas and childcare. I actually find it confusing that we think it's okay to not pay workers a livable wage. We are in effect saying that because we can get away with it legally, it's okay. But we shouldn't confuse legal with right. It's true that paying poverty wages is legal. It's also true that for generations, Agnes Scott only accepted white students, and that too was legal. Ultimately, we as a nation must realize that poverty wages are not only immoral, but detrimental economically. But as we work for that day, we should be a dissenting voice. Agnes Scott's a leader among its peers in so many ways. We should be a headlight on the question of living wages rather than a taillight. And then it can be said one day that Agnes Scott saw the difference between what is legal and what is moral and just. We can form generations of Scotties who know that all labor has dignity and that all people have the right to meet the needs of themselves and their families. And in so doing, we continue to shape leaders who can make possible the world we all deserve and not the world we can get away with.
Hi, my name is Lucia Holsether, Agnes Scott College, class of 2011. I support a true living wage at Agnes Scott College because our institutional refrain of global leadership will be empty without a proven and sustained commitment to race and gender justice.
Hello, my name is Peggy Thompson. I am Ellen Douglas Leyburn Professor Emerita at Agnes Scott College, and I have decided to express my support for the living wage to address briefly in a series of very short videos a few of the arguments against a living wage that I have heard most frequently. The first is that the wages we're considering, for example, in Metro Atlanta, probably upwards of $20 an hour for a real living wage, is way too much for these so-called unskilled positions. Well, my answer is we really have to broaden our notion of what kinds of skills people use in their jobs. Certainly, the positions we're concerned about at Agnes Scott, dining service positions, landscaping, facilities, custodial, and so on, these positions require all kinds of skills. They require timing, logistics, work with a variety of chemicals, some of them hazardous, work with a variety of equipment, some of it potentially very dangerous. So there are all those skills, and in addition there are the skills that I don't think we often consider, which are those interpersonal skills that these employees need just to get through the day, to endure constant or at least frequent condescension, rudeness, and sometimes abuse, which is rationalized in people's minds because these are allegedly unskilled positions. Hello, this is Peggy Thompson again with video number 2, responding to a second objection to a living wage, and that is that these jobs were never meant to be permanent. They were never meant to support families. I would remind you that if one did decide one wanted to train oneself out of such a position, where would we find the time? Many of these employees are working multiple jobs in order to compensate for their poverty wages. Where would we find the energy? And where would we find the resources? How do we pay for advanced training when we can't pay rent? And then finally, I would ask you this. If people regularly did move out of such positions, which do you think is more likely? That management would gladly absorb the cost of frequent turnover? Remember, these jobs do require training. See video 1 on skills. Would it be more likely that they would absorb those costs? Or would it be more likely that they would, in fact, in a variety of perhaps unconscious ways and indirect ways, discourage departures? Hi, this is Peggy Thompson with video number 3. The third objection to a living wage that I would like to address is the argument concerned about wage compression, which goes something like this, that if these positions make a genuine living wage, which as I have been arguing is upwards of $20 an hour in Metro Atlanta, that is way too close to what I am making for a job that required years of advanced training. And that's not fair. My response to this argument is, why do we demand fairness at the expense of those who have enjoyed so little fairness in their careers and in their lives? We need to take a much more comprehensive view of fairness, I think, and that might start with questioning or acknowledging the ways in which unfairness has benefited us. For example, it seems in some ways unfair that I should enjoy dividends from my portfolio. I didn't work for them. Or is it unfair that I got an interview because of who my family knows? Isn't it unfair that I received a preference because the name on my application was not African American or Muslim, or in someone else's case, perhaps it was not a woman's name? Isn't it unfair that I get constant affirmation from a curriculum that glorifies my culture while others see their cultures distorted or dismissed or erased? And you all know the list could go on and on. So I guess my summary point here is that the living wage issue is wrapped up and is part of a web of issues, a web of injustices that we should be very eager to fight. And I think that the living wage is one very concrete way to approach this whole web of intersecting injustices and begin the fight for true fairness and justice. Thanks.
Hey everybody, my name is Ben Spade. I'm an organizer here with the Teamsters Union here in Atlanta, Georgia, Local 728. We represent UPS drivers and truck drivers, bus drivers throughout the state of Georgia. And I just wanted to record this little message to say that we support, as 9,000 Teamsters here in the state of Georgia, we support the demand for a real living wage for all Agnes Scott workers. We're part of this community too, just like Agnes Scott College is, and we believe that the college has a responsibility to pay all of its workers a real living wage, respect their rights to form a union, maintain a union contract, but also provide for their families for the essential services that they provide. I'm a long-term admirer and supporter of the Agnes Scott Living Wage campaign. It inspired me to do similar work in Valdosta, Georgia, at Valdosta State University. To this day, I'm an organizer because of that work with the Living Wage campaign. For any students that are watching this, I just encourage you to understand the value that campus workers provide for everything that you do at Agnes Scott College, and continue to support the critical work of the Agnes Scott Living Wage campaign. Having a living wage is not an option, it's a requirement in this economy, and it's time that Agnes Scott's leaders finally implement a real living wage for all workers.